Welcome to the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa, where we discuss dating and other significant relationships.
Hello.
Hello, we're back, everybody. It feels like it's been a while, Poppy. We were talking a little bit before the show. Feels like we've been away for such a long time. You've been on vacations, um, got all kinds of stuff going on, and we've done someone else's podcast in the meantime. So it
Right.
feels good to be back in the seat again with you.
Just to clarify, though, mine was not a vacation. Mine was a bachelorcation.
Somebody's about to get a bae.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is our topic for today. Baecation, BAE for everybody out there listening. So a vacation with your boo thing, or your baby, or your,
Or potential
potential.
bay.
Exactly. If you haven't made it all the way to bae status, then when is it a good time to take a new, I guess, love interest or potential suitor or potential new lady on vacation with you, Poppy? What do you say?
Man, I think that definitely is very dicey because I think there's a lot of insinuating factors that affect that decision. For me, I feel that to do something like that, that means you're considering this person for something more than just casual, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you're either on the fence, or you're thinking about it, or you're, I don't know, like right in between, or pretty close, in my opinion.
So do you think, though, for other men or other people, that, you know, I hate to ask it like this, Poppy, I'm gonna say it because we keep it real on the show.
Hey, we always keep it a buck. You know
Would
how
you
we
take
roll.
a hookup on a vacation?
Would I take a hookup on a vacation?
Or
No, I would not.
do you know people who have?
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely happened. It's absolutely
You
happened.
just wouldn't
And
do it. Okay.
oh, I would not do it
Okay.
because um, if I'm traveling out of if I'm going wherever I'm traveling to, if I'm putting in that effort to travel, I want to be able to enjoy, and I want some peace and tranquility. And if I'm doing that with somebody that I'm genuinely not necessarily interested, or I don't know if I'm interested in them like that, that's a big
Hmm.
risk.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of money depending on where you're going.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't give a damn if you go to Asheville, you're gonna spend some money.
Right.
Like,
Right.
whether you go to Asheville or you go to Punta Cana, you're gonna spend some money because traveling is expensive. That's just the reality of it.
Exactly. Gas or the
You know.
plane, either way.
Oh, I mean, whether you driving, whether you flying, with
Yeah.
hotels, and even if you get good deals on, flying or hotels, you still gonna spend money on, food and going out and,
Right.
sightseeing
Activity.
and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, to me, that's what I'm saying. To me, like, if I'm asking a girl to join me for travel, that means that I really am enjoying her company, or
Hmm.
I really am curious about her, or I'm intrigued by her. But I would not take somebody that's just for like a casual thing. To me, that's just got that to me can get complicated. And then on top of that, I hear a lot of men, I've heard the whispers, right, where if they take a girl somewhere, that they're expecting to sleep with her. That's just the reality
Hmm.
of the outlook that a lot of men tend to have. I don't know from a woman's perspective how they feel on it,
Right.
but from a male perspective, that's usually been the whispers that I've heard.
Right. Well, and I think as a woman, um, that could be an added pressure. Like, does he expect that from me? What do I say? Should I say anything before? If I really do like you, if I'm interested, if we've made it through quite a few dates, because honestly, I wouldn't go with a man that I don't feel comfortable with or safe with. Um, you know, I, how many dates does that make? I'm sure that's personal for everyone, but to go somewhere with someone and you don't really know where they stand on intimacy, and you maybe haven't even broached that at this point, Like that's to me a conversation. I think I'm comfortable trying to assume one way or another what he's thinking in terms of if I go, is this no strings attached? Or, you know, should I pay my way so that way we can enjoy each other's company and I don't feel like I've got any strings attached to me? There's just so many things that make that, like you said, real tricky moving forward. But I do want to ask you, how many dates, um, generally speaking, because I know, vibing with people, it could be you vibe the first night you meet, nonstop, good energy, feeling good about things. But how long do you feel like you, Jorge, would want to know someone before you were ready to move into that kind of direction with a woman?
I would say a good month, like a good month of consistency and rapport, and a good month of getting to know someone. Because because to me a month would be what, 3, 4 dates, and
Mm-hmm.
by 3, 4 dates, you should know if you like hanging out with this person and spending time with this person.
Right.
And to me, at that point, okay, I've enjoyed, spending time with you these, 3 or 4 outings, and it's been fun. It's gone well. Let's take a weekend trip. That would be,
Mm-hmm.
my thought process, right? If I'm being logical with it, like, hey, you know what? I want to go to the mountains. You want to come with me? That kind of thing. Or hey, you know what? Let's go to Charleston for a weekend, something like that. Because if we've gotten along pretty well and there is mutual interest, from both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think, I be a pretty wise move to see if, hey, is this real, or was it just, I don't know, fool's goal, or was it just the dating representative that's wooing me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
that would be my approach. But obviously, there is no exact science to this, because there's a lot of factors. You got kids, you got work. Some people, are different in private, or there's certain sides of somebody's, private life that you won't see unless you're with them in a bedroom, or traveling or living with them.
mm-hmm. Well, and I think again, like you said, there's a certain level of intimacy with being in living quarters with somebody, whether it's short term or long term, whichever. And if you don't have that, like, I don't know how I really have a good time with somebody. Like, would you get separate rooms?
Mm. So to me, um, if a woman if I tried to take a woman out, I don't know, we'll say to Asheville, right, to the
Okay.
mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, all right, but I want my separate room, then that to me, um that to me is telling me that, hey, she ain't ready.
Right.
Definitely not ready to cross boundaries, if that's,
Mm-hmm.
the thought process. Or she's unsure, very unsure.
Right. If out the gate, separate rooms. I don't want to be
Because
in the room with you. Yeah.
because to me, if she says, yeah, we can stay in one room, even if she says, hey, get a room with 2 beds, okay, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
That way, if things are, if she's not comfortable, whatever, there's 2 beds, so there's no pressure, or, you can sleep at ease. And,
Right.
even though, as a man, you have to be respectful, right? If a woman just doesn't feel comfortable, then you got to fall back, because forcing that kind of stuff is never good. Like,
No,
that's
it's
never
against
going to
the law.
lead, to anything good.
No, absolutely. So you've talked about like an overnight trip. When do you do, like out the country or, you know, Vegas or, something kind of big time, like not just a, overnight or whatever.
Yeah, I think to me, I think like a successful weekend trip. Then to me that would be the next step. Like, hey, let's go to Aruba, or let's go to Vegas, assuming that
Mhm.
all the boxes have checked off, and you're still getting along, and you're still enjoying each other's company. And I don't know. That's, to me, if we're going to Aruba, and I'm, the one wanting to take you or a
Mm.
cruise or whatever, that's base status.
Well, I was gonna say, and is that a place of expectation, and is that reasonable at that point?
I mean, like I would not take a woman to, I don't know, we'll say Punta Cana, right? Since I just got back from there a couple of weeks ago,
So
I
jealous.
would not take a woman there unless I thought that, hey, this has got long term potential. Like that would be
Hmm.
my thought process.
Okay. Okay. Now, this is an adult show, so I'm just asking these hard questions because, there might be some people potentially in this place. Are we ready to move forward into more exclusivity or more, um, kind of serious, serious waters now? Do you like, have you already had an intimate encounter before you take a person? Because, and this is why I say this, you know, when you're in that situation, you're away out the country, out of your regular hometown for an extended period of time with someone, and your hope and desires that it's going to be a great trip, it's going to solidify our relationship. And if you don't know, what the other person likes, or you don't even know if you're sexually compatible, you just know you have chemistry, then would you wait until you got there, or would you want to have known that level of compatibility first?
I think that's a case by case basis. I mean, I think each woman has a story, right?
Mhm.
If she, maybe had an interesting story, or maybe it could be a medical situation, or maybe she's been the victim of assault or something like that. Like all those factors would absolutely play into that,
Okay.
because I think if somebody has a very very unique circumstances, I think that's got to be taken into account.
Hmm.
But I think ideally, if you're going to be flying out the country with somebody, yeah, you would hope that you are compatible intimately, along with outside of the bedroom as well, I would think.
Okay. So, and this is for me. This is really my point of view. And we've talked about this in probably our very first few shows about intimacy being more than just physical.
Right.
um Being able to really have a strong connection with someone, compatibility with someone, lots of um good connection to that person. So for me, I could see, like, really wanting to connect to somebody at that level where, it's really literally us against the world, especially if we're out of the country. Like, I'm not going gallivanting around without the person I came with. And that to me really does sort of paint a picture of who a person is when you take people out of their comfort zone or out of
Mm,
their
yep.
normal habitat. To me, that would be another place where I'm looking to see, is this person who they showed me back at home? Like, are you rude to the servers? Are you, a real asshole or whatever to the local people? How do you deal with other cultures? And how do you deal with certain just situations where you're in a foreign land? How do you handle yourself? Are you comfortable? Are you confident? Do you act like you protect me? Are you walking off and leaving me, to kind of fend for myself? So I would like to hope that those would be things that I would know about a person before I left, and hopefully they haven't sent their representative. But you just never know, until you are in the situation. So I think for me, I know I would have to have probably more than a month, um, kind of getting to know somebody before I felt confident about, you know, doing anything long term. Now, Asheville, I could see, I love the mountains and I can get home in an hour 15, you know,
Yeah,
but
like if if
somebody could
if
come
every
get me if I
if
needed them
things
to.
went super bad, right? If things
Yeah.
just went terribly wrong, or the vibe, or just you just can't stand that person, you
Hmm.
can, you could leave. You could find a way home. You take a bus or take the Amtrak or have a friend pick you up, whatever. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, from that now I will say this, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I do feel that when you travel with people, even if it's friends, right? Even if it's not on a romantic level, even if you travel with friends or family, whatever, it brings you together. You
Right.
know, like it brings people together.
In the
Uh,
best situation. Yeah.
it absolutely, and it creates a bond, right?
Right.
But it can also it can also backfire, and you can also see a side of somebody that maybe you had not seen, right? Because I've heard that where sometimes
Hmm.
people will travel and they're like, oh man, I don't ever want to travel with her again because she doesn't want to explore, or she's trying to be, super introverted, and we didn't come here to sleep, we came out here to
Right.
be out and about and explore. So it can definitely show you you can learn a lot about someone if you pay close attention, in my
Yes. Exposed to maybe traits that you didn't see in a normal, go to dinner and go to a movie or go bowling type situation, right?
Exactly. But yeah, I do agree that, hey, it could definitely bond you, and hey, it might bring you guys closer together, and
True.
stay closer together. It might be emotionally and not necessarily physically, if you guys don't take it there, or both. You could be like, hey, you know what, he's really conducted himself to a gentleman. So as a woman, you might be like, man, like, he has not pressed me, we've had a good time, and he's genuinely just enjoyed my company.
Right. A more organic
Literally,
flow. Yeah.
exactly. And I feel like I can just kind of let my guard down a little bit, and I feel that this man is genuinely interested in me. So it can absolutely bring you together, and you can definitely see a side of someone that maybe you had not been able to see, and you wouldn't have unless you spent all that time together doing something other than the typical bowling or hiking or local stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Poppy. So what do you think are some of the best locations? Are you beach or mountains? Where
Me
you from?
personally, me
Mhm.
personally, I'm a beach guy. I'm a beach guy just because I don't know. There's something about the tropical
I
experience that,
know.
because I
Yeah.
guess because I know the mountains are in our backyard. So when you're offering, you making me choose between Caribbean and tropic compared to mountains, because I know the mountains are all around us,
Right.
living here in the Charlotte area. But that tropical Caribbean vibe, that's
One
hard
of a
to
kind.
it's
Yeah.
hard to find, even if you go to Myrtle Beach or Charleston.
Totally different vibe.
It's still a different vibe. It's still a different vibe. So for me, I'm beach all the way. What about you?
I love the mountains, especially you know, up in the Smokies. I've been to the Rockies as well now, and they're beautiful as well. And there is like a peace and a tranquility around being there. But I'm telling you, my soul is made for the ocean. And like you said, especially the Caribbean, love, love, love any parts of the Caribbean and that water and just looking out and seeing um, just just how beautiful it is. And there's so much to do without necessarily having to spend a whole lot or, just excursion yourself until you can't walk. Because I'm not one of those people. Like when I go on vacation, I really like to relax and get away from like rushing through life and let's hurry up and go here, let's hurry up and go there. I'm not really a big shopper, so you know, if I'm gonna get some souvenirs or something like that, fine. But I'm really not one of those. Like if I'm in a local place, I want to eat the local food. I want to go to the local spots. I want to see places of interest, like with history and finding out about the history of the place while I'm there. I love to talk to locals. My Spanish is, I'm right at muy poquito, papi, muy poquito, but
Hey,
I
Duolingo is your
try.
friend. Duolingo.
I do try. So, just being able to hear people's stories and just people watch on the beach all day. I'm telling you the truth. I could sit out at the beach all day, every day of a vacation
And
and,
get
and
that
be
tan on
happy.
fleek. Yeah, my tan is on
Absolutely
point right now. My tan is still vibing right now.
fine. I went to Puerto Rico in January and then Tampa in February, but I haven't been anywhere in the last 2 months except for outside, it feels like.
Oh
So
yeah, you
I'm
already
gonna have
getting
to
that
take it
itch
back
again,
up.
huh?
I gotta hit it again. I got to. So
Check this out. Check this out. So I got a story. So
mm,
I went on a date with a lady pre-pandemic, and she said there was an older gentleman that was very interested in her. She
mhm.
was from New York. So She used to work for like a men's clothing place, like,
Mhm.
where they sold suits and stuff like that. So, there was a lot of classy guys that would pull up that like to, wear suits and all that. Long story short, this guy got interested in her,
Okay.
and he invited her to a resort trip that he was going to in Florida. And, that doesn't sound too crazy, right? A lot of
Right.
Northerners like to go to Florida a lot because
Mhm.
they want to get away from all that snow and all that winter,
Right.
right? So the first time she asked her, she declined.
Mhm.
Um, he kind of put that out there again the second time, and it was super cold. It was wintertime at this point. So suddenly that idea seemed very, very appealing.
Right.
And she was like, all right, what could it hurt? And, she kind of went with that, she went to Florida with this man that she barely knew because he was like a customer of hers.
Uh-huh.
And she gets to the resort, and it's an adult nudist resort.
Wow.
And this poor girl's like, what the fuck? She's like, where in the blue hell am I? And she's got shitty reception. So she's
Oh.
like kind of like, having like a little bit of a nervous breakdown a little bit, because she's like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, it's an adult resort. Like, some people do that if they,
Right.
it's only adults, it's only grown folks business in here.
Right. Right.
But the problem is he did not tell her any of this. Like, he didn't prep her, you know what I mean? And
Well,
that,
didn't ask apparently either.
and that kind of screwed up, because
Yeah.
if you gonna take me somewhere like this, you gotta prepare me. You can't,
Right. You
like, hey.
work out before you get there.
Now, he did not partake in the nudist part,
Yeah.
although she did not like that he did not even bother to mention that, and that he didn't even, bother to give her like any kind of heads up, and that was not appreciated. And she
No.
obviously did not enjoy the trip like she thought she was going to, because she felt that he was being deceitful.
Well, and that's really one of those things, like, would you have said yes if you had known? Like, I'm not condoning. I think he was wrong, for handling it that way. But I think for me, I probably asked so many questions. People feel like they're under interrogation, but I just like, that's that's how I that's how you learn something about people. That's how you figure things out. But no, I bet you she won't ever say yes to another trip without knowing the itinerary, though. I was like, wow.
You went from thinking, hey, we're going to Florida, we're going to be on the beach, we're going to have the resort experience, to,
Uh,
looking around like, what the hell is going on?
and depending on your sensibilities, like that could be very uncomfortable. Like, just especially if you've never done it before and you weren't prepped for it ahead of time.
I've never
Like,
done it like,
watching these
so
bodies just looking around and you know with somebody who is not um a regular in your life. So I guess again, that kind of makes the point that we both have talked about. Like, that's not something I want to do with somebody I don't know well enough. Like, I
but
don't
check
want
this
to
out. But
travel
check
with
this out,
a
Nelsa.
stranger.
Like, even, okay, let's say this is like your best friend, right? Even if
Mhm.
that was your best friend, you still want a heads up. Like, you still need the
Right.
whole, like, okay, what are we getting ourselves into?
Right.
you know uh at least, right? I'm a big believer in, hey, I like to know the devil I'm dancing with, and I'm all about, keeping it real and keeping it 100, right, as the kids say.
Yeah.
And that was far from that. So that was pretty, that
That's
was
a good
pretty
setup
shitty.
almost. Yeah.
That was pretty shitty, and it almost feels like he was trying to, get her to, maybe, I guess he wanted to see her naked. He thinking, hey, I'm taking her nudist colony, maybe she'll join the craziness. But
Yeah.
that was just too much for her, and she did not partake in that, and she couldn't wait to leave. And she had shitty reception, so she almost felt like almost stuck, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, and I think that's something, like, we talk about safety on the show a lot. And not just physical safety, but emotional, psychological safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
when you're away with somebody, like you said, you're going to get things that are exposed to you about their character, about, who they really are when you're in a situation where you can't get home necessarily very easily. So, like, you really need to take care of, and I think as a woman dating, it's my responsibility to make sure I'm safe, to make sure I have a safety plan for, bad dates, crazy dates, whatever. Like, I feel like it's up to me to be armed with what I need before I agree to the date, you
So
know?
my thing would be to all our listeners, right? The approach for this would be do your homework on where you're going
Mhm.
and make sure that if you do go, that you have enough to fend for yourself. So if things go awry or you need to
Mhm.
leave or you got to flee, that you have enough funds to get to safety and to most
Mhm.
importantly get home. Because if you go to a place and you don't got a dollar under your name,
Right.
that's way too risky for my taste. And then at that point, you're at
Yeah.
the mercy of this individual that brought you there, and now you're stuck. If you feel like you're in a difficult situation or you're in a bind and you don't have a dollar under your name to even call a taxi cab or a Uber
Uber,
or
anything.
whatever,
Yeah.
you don't ever want to be in a predicament like that. So I think knowing where you're going, being able to, at least have funds to flee the place. If it's something, where, you're going to the mountains or a certain beach or
Mhm.
whatever, you want to make sure that you have enough to handle your business and leave and take care of yourself. You don't ever want to go just strictly dependent on this other individual to pay for everything,
Mm-mm.
in case things don't go as planned.
Right, and then he could have gotten there, and she decides I'm not going to be nude this whole time. He's like, well, good luck. I'm not going to be paying for X, Y, and Z. You know, uh, Again, it's a character revealer, but I don't think that's the place you want to find out when you're away from home, away from your surroundings. And not to say that we've got to bring safety up, because in this day and age, you can't not discuss it. But at the same time, with somebody that you're feeling like you have had enough time and, like you said, consistency, then hey, if a trip is in order, but I was raised to be an independent woman when it comes to certain things. Even if I'm accepting your kindness or your gift of a trip,
Yeah,
I would still not go, like you said, completely dependent on the other person in case something happens. Like, and it may not be that the person does something wrong. Things may go wrong with the trip that separate you, or something happens to the person.
exactly.
There's so many things that could
Agree.
take
Yeah,
place.
you definitely
Yeah,
want to have, at least a few bucks to, get
yeah,
you to
have enough to get
safety,
home.
or you want to have enough money to be able to get home and to fend for yourself in case something, drastic were to happen where you both lose each other, or,
Yeah,
just things are getting way too uncomfortable, way too weird. And, yeah, definitely
absolutely.
I'm with you on that. Safety is always, but to all my fellas, like, yeah, if you're gonna invite a woman out like that, definitely don't do it, because you're expecting sex. I don't think that's the right approach. And if you're genuinely interested in her, that's not the way to go, in my opinion.
No,
But
that could be
that's
a real
why,
turn off for a lot of women.
yeah, and that's why I would never take someone like that unless I'm genuinely interested in them. Because if I'm genuinely interested in them, then the sex is not going to be the only thing that I'm seeking from this person. You know what
Right.
I mean? From this woman. So I would never like do it with that expectation. Like, to me that's just got that's just way too shallow.
I was gonna say it
And
feels slimy. Honestly, that's the word I would use.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Feels slimy.
it's shallow. It's too shallow and superficial for my taste.
Yeah.
And listen, and here's the thing: when you do get to know someone without sex being involved, that tension builds up. And I'm telling you what, I mean, me personally, that is a beautiful thing. When that manifests organically and naturally, that is an amazing, beautiful thing. When you
Right.
know you vibing and you know you're really into this person, they're into you, and then that manifests naturally and organically, man, that is a beautiful feeling.
It is, and then you really get to know the person at a level where, what if we could never have sex for whatever reason, something happens to one of us. Like, is this somebody I would still want to spend time with, that I would want to share with if sex wasn't even an option. And I think that's another show topic.
Oh, listen, we
Because
could make so many shows out of
right.
one.
Exactly. We got another show topic right
Facts.
there. So,
Big facts.
I'd just be really curious to our listeners. Post with one of us. We always put the story out when the show's coming out. But let us know where you stand on Baecation. Should you expect anything, or is it no strings attached and we can go and really have a good time without the extra worry of whether sex is a part of it, or um whatever expectation you may have. So I'd really love to hear what our listeners think about it. So either give us an email at Jorge and Nelsa at gmail.com, and that's and no ants on there. Jorge, Jorge, and Nelsa at gmail.com, or post on our stories or on our Facebooks. We are still building out the show. We're going to have some new and exciting things coming up, hopefully in the near future. But for right now, that's the best way to get us. And, chime in and let us know where you stand on Baecation. We appreciate you guys listening in. Have a wonderful holiday time frame when you hear this on its original um, published date. And Poppy, we'll sign off.
It's been real. Buenas noches, mommy. Have a good one.
Thanks, Poppy. You too.
Thanks for joining us today on the Relationship Cycle with Jorge and Nelsa. Do you have show ideas? Email us at jorgeandnelsa@gmail.com. Follow us on Spotify or anchor.fm for more great shows.